The story of King Vikram and his discontent. In a distant kingdom called Kanchanpur, there reigned a wise and fair king named Vikram. He was known across the land for his intelligence, integrity, and sense of justice. However, despite his many qualities, King Vikram felt a deep sense of dissatisfaction. He was troubled by the burdens of his reign and the quality of those around him. One day, as he sat in his royal garden, contemplating his kingdom, his chief advisor, a wise old sage named Brahmananda, approached him. Seeing the king lost in thought, the sage asked, "Your Majesty, I sense something is troubling you. What weighs so heavily on your heart?" King Vikram sighed deeply. "I feel like my reign is a curse rather than a blessing. My kingdom is small and poor, and I have been forced to rule over it with great effort and little reward. The people are not as loyal as they once were, and I am constantly dealing with petty conflicts and trivial matters. Sometimes I wonder if it would have been better to rule over nothing at all." Brahmananda, wise in his years, nodded thoughtfully. "It is not unusual to feel this way, my king. Many rulers feel the weight of their responsibilities. But let me share a story with you that might bring some clarity. The tale of Raja Surya and the burden of smallness. Long ago, in a distant land, there was a king named Surya, who ruled over a tiny kingdom. The kingdom was poor, and its borders were barely defended. Though King Surya was kind and just, his kingdom was surrounded by powerful neighbors who often threatened his people. The king's resources were limited, and he spent most of his time handling petty disputes among the people, focusing on problems that seemed small but were never ending. King Surya often looked at the grand empires around him, kingdoms with vast armies, immense wealth, and immense power, and he longed for such a life. But no matter what he did, his kingdom remained small and weak. He became weary of ruling over such a petty realm, where his every decision seemed insignificant, and the problems he faced were often trivial. One day, an elder from a neighboring kingdom visited Raja Surya. "Why do you look so troubled, O king?" the elder asked, seeing the sorrow in the ruler's eyes. King Surya replied, "I often wonder if it would be better to have nothing than to rule over such a small and insignificant kingdom. Every day I face small problems, ungrateful people, and constant struggles. I see other kings with vast empires, and I long for such glory." The elder smiled gently and spoke, "Let me tell you this, it is better to be without a kingdom altogether than to rule over one so petty. A small kingdom brings small joys, but also endless burdens. Do not be deceived by the outward glory of other kings. There is little peace in ruling over a land filled with constant strife and narrow-mindedness. Better to seek a life of true peace than a life spent chasing after fleeting glory." The tale of the foolish friend and the lost trust. King Vikram, moved by this story, thought deeply about his own situation. But his troubles were not limited to his kingdom alone. His personal life, too, weighed heavily on him. He had a friend named Akash, a man who had been by his side for many years. However, Akash had begun to show a darker side. He was always seeking personal gain and would often make decisions that went against the kingdom's best interests. Vikram had begun to realize that his so-called friend was not someone he could trust. One evening, as they sat together in the royal garden, Akash tried to convince King Vikram to make decisions that would enrich him personally, at the expense of the kingdom. "Why do you waste your time with the people, Vikram? You could have so much more if you simply took what is rightfully yours. The kingdom could be yours to command, without any need for concern over their welfare." Vikram's heart sank. He had always trusted Akash, but now it seemed that his friend had become a rascal, a man driven by greed and selfishness. He realized that having such a friend was worse than having no friend at all. The next morning, Vikram sought the advice of Brahmananda. "Sage, I am troubled by a question. I have a friend, Akash, who is no longer trustworthy. He has shown himself to be selfish, and I no longer feel that I can rely on him. Should I continue to keep him close, or is it better to be without a friend than to have a friend like him?" Brahmananda, looking wise as always, replied, "King Vikram, it is better to be without a friend than to befriend a rascal. A true friend is one who shares your values, who supports you in your times of need, and who seeks the welfare of others. A man like Akash, driven by selfishness, will lead you astray and will bring dishonor to your name. Sometimes, it is better to walk alone than to have a companion who drags you down." The tale of the foolish disciple. King Vikram then turned his thoughts to his son, Arjun, who had recently come of age. Arjun had been taught many things about leadership, war, and diplomacy, but despite his best efforts, he seemed to lack the sharpness and wisdom needed to be a great ruler. He often made foolish decisions and failed to learn from his mistakes. Vikram loved his son dearly, but he began to worry that his son might never live up to the expectations he had for him. One day, Arjun made a rash decision to go to war against a neighboring kingdom, despite the fact that the enemy was much stronger. King Vikram tried to reason with him, but Arjun was stubborn and refused to listen. The battle ended in defeat, and the kingdom suffered greatly. The king's heart broke as he realized that his son, despite all his efforts, was not ready to lead. Sitting alone in his chamber, King Vikram pondered his next move. Should he continue to teach his son, despite his ignorance and foolishness, or should he sever ties with him? Once again, he turned to Brahmananda. "Sage, I love my son, but I fear he is not suited to rule. He is a fool, and no matter how hard I try to teach him, he does not learn. Would it be better for me to have no disciple than to have a foolish one like him?" Brahmananda smiled gently and replied, "It is better to have no disciple than to have a foolish one. A foolish disciple will bring harm to both himself and those around him. A true disciple seeks knowledge and wisdom and learns from his mistakes. If your son is unwilling to learn, then it is better to let him go, for it is better to walk alone than to have someone who will lead you astray." The tale of the unfaithful wife. King Vikram's final challenge was his wife, Rani Mira. Though beautiful and beloved by the people, Vikram had grown disillusioned with her. He had discovered that she had been unfaithful to him, and despite his efforts to forgive her, the pain remained. He found it difficult to focus on the welfare of the kingdom when his heart was torn by betrayal. One night, King Vikram sat alone in the royal gardens, contemplating his life. "I have a kingdom, but it is small and full of strife. I have a friend, but he is a rascal. I have a son, but he is a fool. And I have a wife, but she is unfaithful. Is it better to have all these things, or to live without them?" Brahmananda, ever wise, answered him in the morning, "My king, it is better to be without a kingdom than to rule over a petty one. It is better to be without a friend than to befriend a rascal. It is better to be without a disciple than to have a foolish one. And it is better to be without a wife than to have a bad one." Sometimes, it is not the quantity of what we possess that matters, but the quality. If your relationships bring you more sorrow than joy, it is better to live without them. True peace and happiness come from wisdom, loyalty, and integrity, not from false appearances. Moral of the story: King Vikram's journey through his personal and royal struggles taught him that it is better to be without a kingdom than to rule a petty one, better to be without a friend than to have a rascal as a companion, better to be without a disciple than to have a foolish one, and better to be without a wife than to live with an unfaithful one. True contentment lies in the quality of what surrounds us, not in the quantity. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a like, share it with others who might benefit, and subscribe to the channel for more valuable content like this. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.